I'm an engineering student who graduated from Oxford. As a junior developer, my challenge is to build a useful service this week and 48 hours all the way from idea to production and real people. See, I know how to code, but all my experience has mainly been in bigger teams, so this is another opportunity for me to get experience building something end to end. We're not going to cover just the technical side, but also the entrepreneurship side of how do you make an idea that people actually want to use. And that's just as, if not more important than the technical side, because that's becoming a commodified skill for building MVPs like this. So, before we build anything, we need a problem to solve. The one I decided to work on was finding opportunities and scholarships, because this is something I had experienced personally. You see, I ended up getting thousands of pounds to study at university. However, the main way for me to research it was like word of mouth and like long Google searches on the internet. The issue is you don't want to happen on a lucky referral or have to spend like 10 hours Google searching, and you might still miss something that's worth, thousands of pounds. So I wanted to centralize that in one database to save a lot of people a lot of time, hopefully. Then we come to the first point. This seems like a good idea to me. However, if I was the only user of this app, the performance would be pretty poor. So we need to validate this idea. So the first thing I did was reach out to some friends who I thought might be interested in this. They gave me nice messages, but I wasn't very convinced because, maybe they want to stay my friend and not crush my dreams. So the next thing I tried to do was look at the market. What could the potential market for this be like? So I got some stats about how many people are in a similar position in the UK. So we've got 2.8 million people total, and let's say 5% of them are either like quite ambitious, so they're applying for scholarships and opportunities and things like that, or applying for stuff anyway. So that brings us down to 140,000 people. We're not going to be able to charge them that much if they're applying for scholarships because they don't have that much money in the first place. Well, let's say we can get £5 a year, which may be possible. And that gives us a total addressable market of £700,000 a year, which if I got an extra £7,000 a year for making this, I would be very happy. But I think it will be quite hard. The last thing I'll do when thinking about this idea is kind of rating these on like popular dimensions. And so the first thing to do is to choose a name. This is the first thing I use AI for. Just ask ChatGPT. I told them a bit about my application, something to search for like scholarship and opportunities. I went to Google. Basically, any of these ideas, like pretty much all taken. So Grantly, you can tell actually it looks like it might be vibe coded as well. Another one, there's 2 called Grantly with different URLs. 3 called Grantlys actually, which is quite impressive. Then we've got one called Scholarly. It's not a scholarship database. Scholarbase.io, this one's not working, it's in the beta. And coming back to like the addressable market, this might put some people off, but the chances that you're able to create something that people that they don't know that they want is actually quite rare. That's basically Ford in like the 1900s inventing the car because people would have asked him for a better horse. But you need to be able to come up with that car, and that's actually a lot harder than it sounds. So the sign that there's competition is actually a really good sign, because it means that maybe we can carve out a little bit of this big market for ourselves. So the first thing to do is install a vibe coding tool. In this case, it's either going to be Claude Code or OpenAI Codex. To be honest, I don't think it really matters. I just went with Codex because I heard the rate limits were slightly better, but just choose something and get started. The first actual thing I did was to try and set up a baseline. This is the prompt I used. Put it in, I waited 15 minutes, and then this is what we got. And honestly, I was pretty impressed. But yeah, this definitely it's not ready, it's not pretty, it's very, very basic, so I'm gonna have to do a bit more tweaking. So the next few things I did was spend some time changing the interface and make it slightly better and not like completely like vibe coded slop. So I added an about page, I made it purple instead of green because I didn't like the color before, and I changed the homepage a bit, like changed the name, added an icon, and it got to someone that I was like kind of happy with. And I also tried asking it to change the theme completely and model it based off Wikipedia. And it did like a pretty good job, I'm gonna say. It didn't change that much code. It basically just changed like the CSS, which is the styling code. It just controls like what colors it's gonna be and like how big and things like that. But I think this goes to show that AI is really useful, but you still need to have like some inspiration, some ideas. Otherwise, you're gonna look extremely generic. After that, I added some basic features. I created like an admin system because I didn't want anybody to be able to like add opportunities and edit them, and I created a way to import and export it as basically a spreadsheet or like CSV files in tech because they're just easier to work with, but it's basically just a spreadsheet. And one of the interesting things is that I spent a lot of time looking at like the schema and trying to like fit the data in. Like at the beginning, like I only had like a very bare bones schema. This is how we say we're going to store the data, like an amount, title, description and stuff like that. And if I go to like the final schema I had, is way more complicated, way more detailed, and it covers a lot more edge cases that I thought would be useful, and there's always going to be a trade-off. But if it covers like 90-95%, like that's pretty good. At this point, I think it was like 11 p.m. and I think that marks the end of day one, so let's pick it up from tomorrow. It's like the heat wave in the UK. And it's like 30 degrees. Like, why is it the same temperature as the equator? Anyway, okay, it's Sunday, it's day 2, time to go. Let's lock in. So, this is where we got to last time. The website looks pretty good, but as you can see, one of the main things we're missing is all of the opportunities, scholarship, fellowships, grants. So, today is going to be about finishing off the features that we talked about last time and also populating our website with those scholarships. The reason why we need to do this is that we have this website, and this is what I would call like a proof of concept. This just shows a general idea of what it's meant to look like. But the thing is, we can't see if people actually want it because we haven't made this into minimum viable product or MVP. And that's basically saying that we need some of what people are actually going to use if we want to put this in front of real people. So that's what today is going to be about. But the thing is, we can't just look at all the scholarships in the country or in the world straight away. So we need to pick a niche. The reason why a niche is so important is that if we look at this market, there's only a certain amount that we're actually going to be able to capture. And if we start off with no niche, we'll just be catering a little bit to lots of different people, but we're not going to make many people really happy, and it's going to be a lot of work. What's a much better approach is that if you have a niche, target a smaller portion of your market, dominate that niche, and then spread to other niches. And the niche I want to look at right now is opportunities for ambitious students and early career professionals aged 16 to 25 in the UK. We could go more niche than that, but the thing is, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to find enough opportunities, so I decided to spread it a bit more. So I got this list of different focus areas I wanted to target, different levels of study, and different fields. If you multiply all the combinations, it's 48 combinations. You need at least one like opportunity for like each combination. But my goal right now, I think, will be to get like 100 opportunities total. I think that's where the advantages of having this all in one place will start to appear. I also want to stick with mainly external scholarships as opposed to internal ones. I'm still not completely sure about this one, to be honest, so I also include some scholarships from Oxford and some of the top universities, and we'll see what people like the most. So that covers what type of opportunities we want to search for, but I think it's also useful to talk about differentiating factors compared to other products or other solutions. That basically means Google, web search, AI search like ChatGPT, and looking at other databases. And some of those are actually pretty bad. I'm not going to go through all of the details of this, such as like pain points, benefits, but I do want to look at the differentiating factors. So there's two main things I want to look at. So the first is better curation. So I want to have more useful and more applicable opportunities. The second thing is better user experience and accessibility, because if people can't navigate your site, it's going to be a lot more annoying, and maybe it won't even save them that much time. If we do a little bit of a case study in a somewhat similar area, I think one website that does this is called Tracker, and it's for like job applications in like tech, finance, things like that. And they started off in Bristol in the UK, and like what they do is they have a very simple layout and it's very easy to read all of the information here, and I think that's why they've grown so quickly. So this has been a bit of an inspiration. Another example I want to look at is the Oxbridge Admissions Club, and this shows actually the power of niche, because the leader of this organization, she's only targeting people who want to study postgraduate and at Oxford, which is very valuable because that's the dream school for a lot of people and there's a lot of money there. And she's actually charging £250 for access to her database for scholarships, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Anyway, if you actually look into the details of her website, she says, access to the world's first continuously updated Oxbridge postgraduate scholarship database, filterable on 17 distinct criteria, and it's worth £397. Like, obviously this is a bit of a marketing tactic to anchor the prices higher. And no, like, I just want to say, like, I'm not going to charge £250 for this. It's probably going to be free, maybe like a small fee, but I think access to stuff like this should be democratized. Okay, now we have our niche and our search criteria. It's time to actually find opportunities. At first, I just noted down like all the opportunities I've heard of. I got to about 30, and then the rest I found from going through blog lists I've heard of, and then like Google and AI searching. So then I had a list of about 80. This is pretty good, and it took me a couple of hours to make. Next was the problem of actually filling all the data into this table, and as you can see, the Excel table has a lot of information from amount, closing dates, and we need to fill pretty much all of this out. So when you have to do a repetitive task that takes a lot of time, what's a good idea? Using AI. So that's what I tried to do. I asked Google Codex. I just exported this spreadsheet and I was like, yo, can you fill this in, please? And Codex thought for 50 minutes. So I got this, and this is only 8 scholarships, so I can't use this. This is only 10% of the output I wanted. And basically, I think it struggled to like process the information from the websites. Probably could have tweaked this and got it to run, but I was like, fine, I'll just do it myself. And that's what I did. But it took way too much time.
5 hours later.
So at this point, it's getting pretty late on Sunday. I've got a decent amount of like this filled in, but not all of it. And the main features of the app are finished. So I didn't manage to finish everything in the weekend, but we'll put some more work into it and then we'll see what it looks like when it's actually finished. We're done. I had to spend like an extra day on this, but I think it looks alright now. So before we look at the finished website, let's just look at this spreadsheet. And yeah, this is pretty thick, this is pretty dense. It took me way too much time to fill in all of this information. But this gives a case for like having good filtering to be able to see what you're applicable for. If we type in the Vercel link of my URL of my website, we have £19 million of quantified funding listed from 71 sources. And this doesn't actually include all the fellowships that provide full funding, because I wasn't able to calculate a number from that. We've got them grouped by like types. So we've got access programs, we've got awards, business grants, competitions, scholarships, and then you can also filter it by, for example, female only things. I'll take a second, like boom. You can see like the key information, and if you click on one, it will tell you the overview, like what's on offer and the requirements, which is like the key information you need, and the application date and duration. So seems okay to me. If you want to check out the website I made, the link is in the description. It's right here too. Check it out if you're somebody like me in the UK, ambitious, young, because for me it's really annoying to have to, you know, look for all of these things and also remember them. Random things that I might be interested in, like, and those can take you to literally China, Stanford in America, Japan, fully funded. So these are things people should be looking into. Right now it's free. It will probably be free for a while unless like loads of people start using it, and then I'll have to make it financially sustainable. But stay tuned for next video where I show this to my friends and colleagues, see what they think and iterate based on that. But as for this weekend, that's all for now. Brrr. Let me know what you liked in this video. I can talk more about the tech, more about the entrepreneurial side, because there's a lot to cover and there's a lot I have to cut out. So yeah, have a good day.